Hey YouTube family. So I just got done watching my daughter Maddie in her one-act play at Palestine High School, and the play was very interesting. I really enjoyed it, and I feel like I had a sense of revelation about it, or just some insights, right? The play was called Chamber Music, and I purposely didn't want to know much about it beforehand so I could get just a clear slate. I had no spoilers. I mean, my daughter had told me a little bit about that it took place in an insane asylum, and that she played the lead character, one of the lead characters, I guess, Amelia Earhart. For those of you who have not seen the play, let me just give you a quick summary. Spoiler alert. Okay, so the play takes place in an insane asylum with a few women. I think there's maybe 8 women, each claiming to be a historical famous figure, whether it's Amelia Earhart, Gertrude Stein, Joan of Arc, Isabella, Queen of Spain, the wife of Mozart, and I know I'm forgetting some famous hunter / explorer. I forgot her name, and also Susan B. Anthony. I think I'm forgetting a few in there, but anyway, it's a famous women, and they're in this asylum, and they're doing these meetings and discussing different issues happening, and you realize pretty soon in the play that they're all crazy, they're all insane. They're not logical, they're not making sense, and they talk about how there's a plot against them, how the men in the men's ward are going to try to come in and attack them, and they talk about what they're going to do about it, and how they have to attack first, and how they're going to, the explorer lady, she says that we're going to kill them first before they attack us, and we're going to eat them. And then they start worrying about, how we're not going to be able to eat all their bodies. We're going to lose our privileges to go bowling and things like this. So they're not logical. They're not making any sense. And in the play, you realize that Amelia Earhart, she actually believes, and it makes you feel like she possibly is Amelia Earhart. You know, she knows the exact day her plane crashed. The plane's outside her window. They turn it into a playground. That her companion is locked up in the other ward, in the men's ward. And anyways, you get the feeling, that she's actually telling the truth, and that she actually is Amelia Earhart. But the more she fights to proclaim that she really is Amelia Earhart, all the other girls just laugh. All the other ladies just laugh at her and laugh at her and laugh at her, and she gets frustrated. But nothing's making sense in this play. They're just arguing about what they're going to do about this attack. Amelia Earhart, her character, seems to be more rational, more logical, seems to know the truth. And but they just laugh at her, and she questions their sanity. She questions, well, how do you know that the men are going to attack? How do you know? And they all they say is, well, we just know. We just have a feeling. We just know that we know. But they have no logic, no reason. And she tries to call them out on that, but it's just absurd. They just don't get it. They just say, we know that the men are attacking us. We just know it. We know that we know. But it's very weird. They're in this insane place, right? And so what I noticed here is, okay, so eventually they come up with a plan, like, we can't kill the men who are going to kill us. So instead, we are going to just kill one person instead. And they say, well, who are we going to kill? And they all start calling each other out. We're going to kill the wife of Mozart. No, we're going to kill the queen. No, we're going to kill this person. And they finally say, what about Amelia? And they all gang up on her, and they kill Amelia Earhart, the one that you actually think is actually the only sane one in the group. Okay, and during the play, when it gets a little wild and crazy in the place, in the insane asylum, the men have to come in, the wards, the guards, what would you call them? Anyways, the guards who run the asylum, they come in and tell them to get in line. They tell them to get in order, they try to control, to get everything back in order. And so they come in and just kind of boss the women around. The women are scared. The women get in line for a while. You see the men kind of running the show. And during the play, they also keep opening a window. And they look outside the window. They open the window. But at the end of the play, after Amelia's dead, the men come in. Oh, and by the way, while they kill Amelia, they take Joan of Arc's cross and they crush it and they break it and they beat her with it. Okay? And I feel like it's an important symbol. Okay, so at the end of the play, the men come in. They don't realize that Amelia's dead because she's got her head on a table. They just think she's asleep. And then at that point, they reprimand the ladies, saying, you have to keep the window closed. The window stays closed. Now, this play is called Chamber Music, okay? So, at the end of the play, during the review, the critique, the person giving the critique asked the staff, asked the crew, what do you think this play is about? And they said, well, someone answered and said, we think it's about feminism or sexism, the way women are treated in society. And I said, well, no, I didn't say anything, actually. I just listened, but I don't buy it. So they said it was about women and how women are treated, and he asked, well, who do the men represent? And they said something, I could actually, I didn't hear what they said, but I'm sure it had to do with how the men and the people in charge who ran the world, who treated women badly and just kind of bossed them around. In other words, I think, I guess what we call the patriarchy. All right, so here's my take on it. Now, inside it, I'm not thinking it's about sexism. Now, randomly, throughout the play, the queen never says anything. The queen just stands there stoically without hardly even flinching or moving. But this one scene, she gets up and the lights go out and the spotlight hits her, and she gives this monologue about Christopher Columbus and how Christopher Columbus doesn't know how to get to the Indies, and but he might discover a new land, and she's frustrated because she can't even handle her own land. What is she going to do with the new land, the new world, And so she gives this whole monologue where everyone else goes dark about the new world. Okay, so here's I don't buy this feminism thing. So I look it up on finally after the critique, I look it up on Google to see what people say the meaning of the play is. And on Wikipedia, there is a line at the very end says, some critics today think that the play is about feminism or sexism. It just said some critic, that some people think that. So I don't know, I don't buy it. So I looked it up again. I wanted to know, well, what is this play? So I looked closely and it said the playwright, and I don't remember his name right now, but the one who wrote Chamber Music, that it was written after World War II, and he was part of the theater of the absurd. He was in a group of playwrights that were existentialists who believed that life ultimately had no meaning, and that ultimately all communication broke down to pointlessness and meaningless and ultimately to silence, and that all kind of had to accept the fate that life was pointless and meaningless. Okay, and so he's part of a lot of his plays deal with kind of absurd, irrational communication and thoughts. Okay, so here's my take on this play. Here's what I think this play is really about. The insane asylum represents Western society, Europe, the Americas, the Western world, and that we have gone insane. Again, the playwright is part of the theater of the absurd, part of the existential movement, existentialists who were given into nihilism, where life has no meaning, there's no point to existence. And in this culture, in the Western society, that Western society was embracing this philosophy, partly ascribed to by Nietzsche, about that we had to admit that there was no meaning, that there was no God, and that we had to reinvent our own meaning, that we got to invent who we wanted to be, we got to invent what truth was, right? And so that basically there is no God, there is no truth, each person invents it for themselves, just like these women in the insane asylum were inventing who they wanted to be. And they knew they weren't the queen of Spain, they knew they weren't the real wife of Mozart, they knew that, but except for Amelia, she actually believed, and maybe she was truly her. So I believe that this insane asylum represents Western society being purposely plunged into existentialism and nihilism, I forget how to pronounce it, but just giving up the hope that there is any truth and meaning. And we basically give into insanity. There is no truth. We're just given into confusion. Now, the reason I think that is partly because the Queen of Spain, Isabella, gets up and gives this whole spiel about the Western world being discovered, and what is she going to do with the new world when she can't even handle the old world of Spain, Europe, the Americas. And So these women are insane, they try to rationalize, but they can't. And whenever the only rational person tries to say, look, this is the truth, investigate, look into it, you will find that this is really who I am. All of the society just responds by laughter and laughing and mocking and mocking and mocking. So that's the way many people respond in today's culture and Western society. If you claim to believe that there is truth, that there is objectivity, that there is right and wrong, there are standards of goodness, truth, and beauty, you get ridiculed, you get laughed at. There is no dialogue, no investigation, no logical discussion. It just becomes mocking and laughter and laughter and laughter. And I think the playwright was actually saying that we are becoming, and I don't know what his take on this, if he was for it or against it, but that we're becoming a society of crazies who just make up what we want to believe. And ultimately, if anyone stands up, says, no, there is truth, there is standards, they'll just be laughed at by those who don't believe in it and mocked. Okay, and I think that when they broke Joan of Arc's cross, again, part of this, Nietzsche and existentialism and nihilism is we have to reject Christianity, we have to reject religion, because they all make claims of truth, of right and wrong, of giving life meaning through sacrifice and through worship and through the existence of God. There's purpose and meaning, and the existentialists rejected that notion. So that's why I believe the cross was stepped on and broken in the play. And so then when the orderlies come in to give order to the ladies, they say the window has to be closed. You have to keep the window closed. There's no hope of escape. There's no hope of any fresh air coming into this culture. It's closed off. And then through the play, Mozart's wife keeps playing these records, right? And so people assume that that's why it's called chamber music. But as I thought about the title, chamber music, I kept thinking the word popped into my head, echo chamber. Echo chamber. That's when you're stuck in a room, you surround yourself with people who think like you, and you're in an echo chamber. And I believe that this existential culture, we become an echo chamber, and the people in charge, whoever runs society, purposely keeps the windows shut. The people who maintain us, who run things, who control our society, who are the gatekeepers, purposely keep us the windows shut, that we don't have any outside thought to come in, because we are just making up our own reality, a bunch of crazies who just don't believe in truth. We mock at truth, and the people who run things you have to keep the windows shut, because Western society is an echo chamber. And now the playwright, again, he was part of this movement of the theater of the absurd, existentialists who believed life had no meaning. And of course, Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche, when he wrote his books, he knew society was going to crumble when they gave up the idea of God and truth. He knew most people were going to enter into a crisis, a horrible crisis, and they were going to crumble. They couldn't handle not having meaning in life. Many people would crumble under that pressure. And that's why he said there had to be a Superman, an Uberman, someone who's powerful enough to face the meaninglessness of life, the void, and just say, you know what, by my own will, through the will to power, I'm going to make my own meaning and make my own fate and make my own existence and decide what I want to be true for myself. And I'm okay with that. I won't crumble at the facing meaninglessness. I will make my own meaning. And so, I think the playwright understood that we're entering this weird world where most people are going insane, and the orderlies come in to maintain order, and society just mocks at those who speak truth. Another person who wrote about this, I believe, was Aldous Huxley in his book Brave New World. We have the savage character. If you haven't read Brave New World, oh my goodness, it's such an amazing book. Read it. It's a critique on Western society and what we're becoming, giving over to pleasure and meaninglessness, devoid of philosophy and religion and just purpose, where we become a society of imbeciles and kids, again, being controlled by the people the gatekeepers of society. And in this book, there's a man who actually still holds to truth, much like Amelia Earhart. His name is the Savage. I think his name was John, and he still believes in things like marriage and religion and truth and philosophy and Shakespeare. And in that society, he tries to live by truth, by what is true, by what is historic Western society's values. And that culture just laughs at him, can't understand why he believes in marriage, can't understand why he believes in sacrifice, why he believes in God, why he believes in the beauty of Shakespearean language. They don't understand it. They just laugh at him, they mock him, they're just fascinated by him. They can't understand him. They don't have brains capable of understanding logic and truth. They just laugh and they mock him, and eventually he kills himself. He kills himself because that society's just getting to him and getting inside of his head, and it's just, he doesn't have a place in that world. Well, in chamber music, Amelia Earhart doesn't kill herself. She is killed by the insane people. And both Brave New World and chamber music show what happens to those in existential societies who try to maintain tradition and order and truth and religion. Either you get laughed at, you get mocked, you get ridiculed by people who have no grid to even comprehend what you're saying. They don't believe in truth, they don't believe in purpose and meaning, so you get mocked and laughed at. Or you just give in to hopelessness because the sin and the grossness of society and the temptations are creeping into your mind, and you begin to hate yourself. So again, they're both critiques of Western society, existentialism, nihilism. If you haven't been watching that professor from Canada and his Jordan Peterson, he's been attacking this postmodern philosophy that it's over, guys. We've given it a chance. It's making society crumble. We see the crime rates, we see the divorce rate, we see just society is crumbling, just like Nietzsche predicted. Most people can't live without meaning, or watching a world without truth, meaning, religion, goodness is just crumbling. And I think we've tried postmodernism, we've tried to implement it, and it is not working, and it's time to return to the old traditional values of Western society: God, Christianity, sacrifice, truth, beauty, goodness, chivalry, femininity, masculinity. It's time to return to those values. Anyways, I think that this play, chamber music, was the playwrights just putting it out there in the form of a metaphor, an analogy of this is what we're entering, this is who we are, this is what society is becoming. And again, I don't know if he was against it, or if he was commenting on it, or if he was actually for it. But I don't think it was about feminism at all. In fact, I think that people who think it's about feminism, I'm sorry to say, I think they think it's feminism because they are already thinking, they are already living and thinking in that mindset of postmodernism, existentialism, where everyone is pitted against other, male against female, black against white, atheist against religion. And it's because they can't see outside of that bubble of their existential training and mindset that there is order and truth outside of this philosophy, and that they have a choice to think that way. So I don't think it's about feminism or sexism. I think that's just an interpretation of those living under the existential philosophy. Again, it just came to me right now. The reason people think it's about feminism and sexism is because the women are delusional. They think the men are out to get them. That's what feminism is. They think there's this patriarchy against them, and they're making it up in their head. But that's part of this postmodern pitting people against people, social justice movement. There is no patriarchy trying to put women down. It's just this philosophy of postmodernism just pits people against people. And anyways, I just see that. But anyways, tell me what you think in the comments. If you've seen this play, you might think I'm totally off my rocker, that it is about feminism and sexism. I don't think so at all, because of who the playwright was, because he was an existentialist who was part of the theater of the absurd and knew what this was going to do to society. And I totally believe that's his commentary. If you have never studied Christianity or Catholicism or philosophy of the ancient philosophers, and you again study them, you'll see that we are living in a postmodern society that mocks the idea of truth, objectivity, standards, religion, breaks the cross, breaks religion, and it's insanity. And if you don't want to be one of those crazy ladies making up your own truth, making up, I'm the Queen of Spain because I want to be, and I believe, making up your own reality, if you don't want to be insane, study philosophy, study theology, look into Catholicism, which was the builder of Western society, of philosophy, of the universities, of the hospital system, of orphanages, of writing down music. Most of our culture was built on Catholicism, and again, it's mocked at, it's ridiculed. It's as Nietzsche said, that he wanted to have an inversion of values, to take everything that Christianity stood for, and I believe Catholicism especially, and reverse it upside down, flip it upside down, the inversion of values. Because I do think that postmodernism and existentialism is a rebellion, not just against truth, but Catholic truth, because Western society is built on Catholic truth. And anyways, let me know what you think. I'll talk to y'all later.